Here's the problem. There's hundreds of these tales, and there's dozens of them are highly evidential.
Doc, you have a second area of expertise other than resurrection, near-death experiences, or NDEs. Well, start off, tell us what an NDE is.
Well, some people think they're responding to you and they're going, yeah, but that guy's not dead. I'm going, hey, did you hear the name? Near-death experience. A near-death experience, it can be in other situations, but most of the time the person is close enough or just prior to entering a situation. Oftentimes the definition is a situation from which they could easily die without better care than they're getting right at this moment.
Okay. All right. So sometimes I've heard you say about a flat line on an EKG, flat line on an EEG. What's the difference?
Well, they're sort of theoretical, because almost never does somebody have, many times don't have either one hooked up, but rarely do people have both hooked up. But an EEG is brain waves, an EKG measures heart.
Okay.
So if a person's in a lot of trouble, on one or both, you can see it on these machines. And we have this word flatline, which is not always to be taken literally. But when a person has cardiac arrest, they could be having data on the machine with their heart not working.
Okay, so now a near-death experience, they have some sort of an out-of-body experience when they're near death or have already died?
Often a near-death experience is accompanied by an out-of-body experience, which means it's like, hey, I wasn't monkeying with the occult or something. I was just up above the table, and I looked down on myself, and I saw myself, and I was XYZ, and I didn't look very good. In fact, at first I didn't know it was me. Then I thought, boy, that dude's dying. Then I realized, wow, it might be me. And the reason I think they don't recognize it, you go, how do you not recognize your face? Because if you think about it, we are where our consciousness is. So if I'm up on a ladder looking down at somebody in a bed, I'm where my brain is. I'm where more specifically, where my mind is. And if that happens to be me, whoa, why am I up here? And that starts your questions.
All right, so there have been cases, reports where people come back from being dead. Mm-hmm. They have a near-death experience. They report being in heaven or hell, right?
Well, yeah, not how far they go, but there's millions of overall reports.
Okay. So, tell us a couple.
Well, I take it you mean evidential ones.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go, well, hey, yeah, ha, 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 I've hallucinated too, or that's when I was on this drug, or that's back when I was a teenager, and people make jokes. But what you're looking for is evidence in a state where you're not conscious, or better yet, if you are under a general anesthetic, not filling a cavity, but if you're under a general anesthetic, or you have had a cardiac arrest, and your brain, in a cardiac arrest, your brain is not functioning according to the machines in seconds later. But let's say you notice something, and you don't care less about what the machine says. You are looking out and you say this or that, and you report it. Let's say there's a police report. Let's say you overhear a conversation. Let's say someone says something really crazy about you, and you can report later what they said, but you were out. And they'd say, no, I'd never have said that out loud. He couldn't have heard me say that, because I never would have said that about anybody. It was really mean. But the person reports it later. There's indeed jokes. There's indeed...
I know, but give us an example.
Well, okay, here's an evidential one. One lady said she was one of these out-of-body cases. She's up above the bed looking down, and she said, as she said later, she said, I'm obsessive. I'm OCD. I'm obsessive compulsive. And I looked down, and there's this machine above everybody's head, 6 to 8 feet high in the room, a medical machine. And there was a number on top, kind of a riveted number, and there were 12 letters on it, or numbers. And she said, I memorized it. And as soon as she comes to, she tells the nurse who's there, hey, the number is 16789, whatever the number was. She gives 12 numbers and letters. And the nurse thought, that's pretty strange. She copies the number down. There's another nurse there, another witness. And a few days later, they're moving that machine out of the room, and the nurse goes, whoa, 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 get a guy up there on a ladder. And the guy looks, compares the number that she got a couple days ago. Number's exactly the same. And the woman said, I was looking down on top of the machine from above, and it was specifically 12 digits, either numbers or letters.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty cool. It's like there's no way she could have known those numbers ahead of time.
Well, you have to talk to a mathematician and get the odds. What's the number, especially if there's numbers and letters, what are the odds that you would hit all of them in the right sequence? You go, well, you're saying that later. No, because she told the nurse copied it down, they moved the machine days later.
Well, maybe she snuck into the hospital days before and then planned her own death.
Right. Here's the only, well, right. She wasn't dead, so. But here's the problem. There's hundreds of these tales, and there's dozens of them are highly evidential. I mean, one story is this doctor said, well, we're going to have all the information because that machine was running. And the lady said, the machine wasn't running. She said, the machine was running. It was in the room. And she goes, I was looking down on it. The machine was there, if that's the one you're talking about, but it wasn't plugged in. And the doctor goes down and checks and goes, darn, you were right. The machine wasn't plugged in. One guy went through a wall because there's surgical wards. He watches a guy in the next surgical ward having his leg amputated. And he gives a description of what happens when you cut somebody's leg off, what you do. So some weird ones and some highly evidential ones.
But his testimony of that, I hear it didn't hold up because he wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
He didn't have a leg to stand on? Is that right? You think about that all night?
Yeah. So you'd mentioned to me once about something like a person being dead for a while, or they met someone who had been dead for a while.
Yeah, because often when people have these near-death experiences, oftentimes the longer you go up and away to quote-unquote another world. You know, I say teasingly in lectures, you visit Narnia, and you're near death, but maybe you meet with your grandmother or you meet with your father. There's one article that has 27 of these cases, and let's just say, I'm just making a type of scenario up, there's a number of them like this, and the father says, son, hate to tell you this, man, but your favorite cousin, Bob, he just got killed, or he's gonna be killed in 2 days. You're gonna get a telegram, Bob died in Afghanistan, and you come back, and they're taking care of you in the hospital, nothing's happened as far as anybody knows. 2 days later, you get a telegram, Bob died in Afghanistan.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty cool.
But he's dead. He's been dead maybe for 1, 2, 3, 10 years.